All right, let's talk about flying drones in Japan. If you're a pilot, or even just thinking about becoming one, you know it's not simply about getting a cool piece of tech up in the air. There are some serious rules, and today we're going straight to the source. We're going to break down the official safety manual, the one every single pilot is expected to know inside and out. So let's dive in.
The manual itself kicks things off with this amazing quote. And honestly, it's not hard to see why they'd say that. We are talking about a total transformation of entire industries. Think about logistics, inspecting bridges and power lines, helping out in disaster zones, even farming. Drones are literally changing our world from a bird's eye view.
But of course, with all that incredible potential come some pretty big risks. And the manual, well, it doesn't pull any punches here. It makes it very clear. A drone falling out of the sky is a huge hazard. And this isn't just some theoretical idea, right? We've seen it happen. We've seen crashes that cause real injuries, and we've seen drones getting too close to airports, shutting the whole place down. This stuff is real, and it's exactly why the rules are so incredibly strict. Okay, so the official guide lays it all out for us in 4 key parts. First up, we'll cover a pilot's responsibility. Then, we'll get into the rules of the sky. After that, we'll talk about really knowing your drone, and we'll wrap it all up with how to properly plan your flight. So, let's jump right into part 1, a pilot's responsibility. And what I find so fascinating here is that the manual doesn't start with all the tech or the complex regulations. Nope, it starts with you. The core message is simple, but it's really powerful. The single most critical safety feature on any drone is the person holding the controller. It all starts with your mindset. And check this out. When the manual defines a pilot's role, it's not so much about your technical flying skills. It's all about your judgment. It's about being responsible for the entire operation from start to finish, prioritizing human safety above literally everything else. And this one is huge. Having the courage to just cancel a flight if things don't feel right. The message is crystal clear. A good pilot avoids a dangerous situation in the first place. They don't try to be a hero and fly through it. And look, this whole idea of responsibility isn't just a nice philosophy. It has very real, very serious legal teeth. If something goes wrong, if there's an accident, you, as the pilot, can be held accountable in 3 completely different ways. And here they are, laid out plain and simple. First, there's criminal liability. That could mean prison or fines if you injure someone. Then, there's civil liability, meaning you are financially on the hook for any and all damages you cause. And on top of all that, you've got administrative penalties, which means they can suspend or even completely revoke your pilot certificate. So yeah, one single incident can lead to a world of legal trouble. It's a stark reminder of the personal liability you take on with every flight. All right, that brings us to our second section, the rules of the sky. This is where we get into the nitty-gritty of what, where, and when you can actually fly. And let me just say, understanding these rules isn't optional. It is the absolute foundation of every single legal drone flight. So first things first, what even counts as a drone in the eyes of the law? Well, the definition is pretty broad, but the magic number you really need to remember is 100 grams. And, this is important, that weight includes the battery. That means many of the popular consumer drones you can buy right now are absolutely subject to these regulations. Okay, so this leads us to the central question for any drone pilot in Japan. You can't just fly anywhere, anytime you want. The law creates this specific category for flights that are considered higher risk, and for those, you need to get government permission by default. So what are they? The key concept here is the specific flight, or tokute hiko. This is probably the most important term to get down. If your planned operation falls into this category, you must have government authorization. And the trigger is pretty simple. If your flight involves a prohibited location or a prohibited method, well, that's a specific flight. So let's break down what triggers a specific flight. It really boils down to 2 things. On the left, you've got prohibited airspace. So think areas around airports, flying higher than 150 meters, or flying over densely populated areas. On the right, it's prohibited methods, like flying at night, flying beyond your line of sight, or getting closer than 30 meters to people or property. If your plan involves any single one of these things, boom, it's a specific flight and you need permission. And if you're thinking about just ignoring these rules, well, you might want to reconsider. The penalties are no joke. We are talking about up to a year in prison for flying under the influence. Flying an unregistered drone, that's up to a year in prison or a $500,000 yen fine. And even just skipping your pre-flight checks can get you a massive fine. They are not messing around. Okay, moving on to our third section, know your drone. This is all about understanding the machine you're actually controlling. It's not magic, right? It's a complex system, and knowing how it works is the key to anticipating how it might fail. At the very heart of every modern drone is the flight control system. You can think of it as the drone's brain. It's the central computer that's constantly taking your commands and mixing them with a flood of data from its sensors, all to achieve that stable, controlled flight we take for granted. Now, this brain relies on a whole suite of sensors to do its job. It uses GNSS, like GPS, to know its location. It's got an IMU to detect its own motion and orientation. It has a geomagnetic sensor that acts like a compass, and an altimeter to measure its height. As a pilot, understanding these helps you troubleshoot. If the drone is drifting, is that a GPS issue or a compass error? Knowing the difference is crucial. Beyond the internal systems, you need to check the physical hardware for this key certification, the Giteki mark. In Japan, any equipment using radio waves, like your drone and its controller, must have this. Flying without it isn't just a safety risk, it's a direct violation of the radio law. Now let's bring everything together. A safe flight isn't just about what happens in the air. It's really the result of meticulous discipline and planning that happens on the ground, both before you even take off and after you've landed. And this checklist represents the mandatory process for every single flight. You inspect the drone, you confirm the airspace is clear, and you check your own fitness to fly. But I want you to pay special attention to step 3, checking the weather. The manual dedicates a huge amount of space to this because weather is one of the biggest risk factors out there. And it's not just about rain, it's about understanding wind speed, gusts, visibility, and how all of it will affect your specific drone's performance. A flight that's perfectly safe in calm conditions could be absolutely reckless in high winds. Only after you assess all these factors do you file your flight plan. And remember, the pilot's responsibility doesn't end when the motors stop. After every flight, you've got to inspect the drone again for any new issues, store it properly, and meticulously log the flight details. This data is absolutely vital, both for maintenance and for your own legal records. We'll end with a powerful piece of wisdom taken directly from the safety manual. True expertise isn't about being some hotshot pilot who can recover from a dangerous situation. No, it's about being a smart, disciplined pilot who, through careful planning, never gets into that situation in the first place. And this brings us to a final, critical question. As drones become more and more automated, it's really tempting to just trust the technology. But the manual consistently points back to one thing: human judgment. Sure, the software can fly the route, but only a pilot can assess all the risks and make that final call. So let me ask you, what do you think is the ultimate safety feature? Is it the software, or is it you?